What is going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Second Guessing with Stressan. I'm your host, Garrett Williams, aka Texans commenter. Today, we're joined by a special guest. Y'all know the man, Figgy Fig from In the Loop on Sports Radio 610. How you doing, Figgy?
Man, I'm doing pretty good, man. I love the intro, by the way, man. It's clean, man. But
Hey, I didn't make it.
oh,
My buddy made
hey,
it.
hey, man, it still look clean, man. Salute to you for even putting it up there, man.
I appreciate it. Yeah, so I mean, just like most of our guests that we've had on here, we've kind of had a back and forth. It's been in the works for a while, and we finally made it happen. I was out of town last week, had a vacation, had a week off from live streaming. I feel like I haven't done this in forever, so I'm kind of rusty. So pardon me if it's a little rusty to begin, but yeah, I mean, like I told you before in the lobby, what I like to do with this series or my shows and interviewing local Houston media members is it's twofold. It's selfishly, it's for me to get to know you guys better because it's always fun to learn more about the people that you listen to on a daily basis. I'm sure most people in here can agree, but like I'm in and out the car all day running errands, this and that, and I keep it on 610, so I hear you guys on In the Loop. But also it's just for the audience to be able to get to know you better. So if you don't mind, just kind of give us a background on yourself, and kind of like lead it up and gear it towards what you're doing now and how it led you to there.
Yeah, man. So I'm Figgy Fig, and I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. So I moved here back in 2016. And I've been working in radio since 2012. I started off as an intern working with Odyssey. It was CBS Radio back then. And the crazy thing is I wasn't even into sports. I mean, I was, a casual sports fan, but not sports radio savvy. I was just like, nah, I ain't want to talk about that. I thought it was for nerds for the longest. I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that. I was a rapper. So I wanted to work for a hip hop station, but long story less long, that didn't work out. And the only opening that was available was for sports. So I moved down here. Me and my wife moved down here, and I started off on the street team here at Odyssey, Houston, and worked my way up, man. Started off as ended up doing a lot of board op stuff, part-time producing. My first show I produced for was In the Loop. I was shadowing for the producer at the time, and it was John Lopez, it was Cody Stoops, and Dante Hall. It was kind of around that time.
It's Dante Hall?
Yeah, he was on there. He was on there for not too long, but the first time I seen him, I'm like, is that the Dante Hall from Kansas City? That played in Kansas City? And it was, but ended up being just Lopez and Cody. So I filled in being a producer and all that stuff, and just kind of worked my way in. And it's actually wild that I'm like, damn, I'm actually producing for this show that I started on that I knew nothing about. Now I'm like like one of the voices on there, which I never would have saw coming.
No, that's awesome, man. I mean, that's I'm glad I asked, and I'm getting to know this about you because obviously, like, we listen, and like I've been a fan over the years, and obviously with how the team goes, you listen more and don't listen. So like, it's cool to like learn the history of like these stations and outlets and stuff like that. But it's also cool to see your journey. I mean, that's one thing I've learned from talking to various people, and like the more I've gotten into this, like the amount of like hard work that people put into it, and like basically you said you just took whatever chance you got. And then next thing you know, you kind of, it's like you're just grinding, and now you're, a radio personality voice. But we have to go back to Ohio. So you said you weren't much of a sports fan. Were you a Browns? Are you? Do you have any ties back to Ohio sports wise, or how does that work for you now?
Yeah, so all of my family is from Cleveland. I have no family, no like blood family down here. So when we moved down here, it was just me and my wife. But yeah, so I honestly kind of got out of the whole Cleveland fandom thing. It's just it was a tough call because a lot of people, you can't, when you move somewhere, you ain't about to give up your team.
Yeah.
But for me, I was down here and I wasn't planning on moving back to Cleveland. I was working for Houston sports station, and I was just like, man, it's not the same feeling rooting for a team so far away like that. and not to mention the Browns wasn't really doing good. So
Yeah, and I don't ask that to like try and like pin you in one way or another. Like I'm just genuinely curious because like I would like you sounded like you were conflicted, but I didn't mean to cut you off. If you want to finish your thought there.
yeah. But yeah, to me, I felt like it was a good decision for me to just kind of leave them in the past. Like I still, like I said, I got a lot of family that still root for all the Cleveland teams. And it's a lot of people there that's good fans, and I hope the best for them. But I'm living in Houston and I'm not going anywhere. So I figure I want to be part of this community and just be a Houston Texan, just be a Houstonian. So
Yeah.
I just wasn't really feeling just walking around with a brown shirt or anything like that. I think I threw all of my gear away. I don't have any Browns gear. I got a couple Cleveland shirts, but I barely wear them, man. So I'm just all in a Houstonia at this point.
Man, I respect that. I know like some people may view it as like it's like a lose-lose. Like either you're from somewhere else and you're not really a Texans fan, so you get critiqued for that, or you abandon your old, fan base. But I respect like, your viewpoint is like this is like my new home and I'm around it. Like I got friends, that like either born and raised here or were born like in New York and they're to like 2-3 years old and they're like Giants fans. Like, bro, you've been here for like 30+ years. Like, when are you going to root for the Astros and the Texans and the Rockets? Like, they kind of halfway do it, but like you seem to be like, all right, like this is what I'm going to do. And I guess in the wise words of Hannah McNair, you got to think of Brown, right?
Yeah. No, seriously, man. She was right on point with that. But yeah, man, I think like just being down here, and if I did have kids and all that stuff, it'd be kind of weird for them to walk around being a Browns fan. It's like I understand how that can happen, because if your parents is watching one team and you just grew up watching that team, then you'll become a fan of that team. And I'm just like, man, if they in Houston, they born in Houston, root for the Houston teams, man. Let's go. It's so much better when the city is doing well as far as sports. And I want to make sure I'm a part of that, man.
Yeah, and then like also too, like another element is like as your job is covering the team, so like your job would be much more enjoyable if you actually like enjoyed the team rather than like rooting against them. So,
Yeah.
also too, with that being said, like what was your feelings for the playoff game with the Browns? Like obviously you had already kind of like put back your fandom. Was there a little bit of like feeling bad, or if not, also too like what was it like with the family? A lot of banter going on with that.
Yeah, I actually got crushed by my family before the game, because I was working the game. I think I did some tailgates and all that stuff. And I had my Houston jacket that I wear a lot. It got all the Houston things on it. I made it. It got like Whataburger on it. It got a whole bunch of Texans stuff on it, Rockets and all that stuff. So I was representing the city, and I took a picture and I sent it to my family. And so they was calling me traitors and all that stuff. I'm like, man, first of all, I work for the team pretty much. I got a credential, so I can't walk around in brown stuff in a Texans credential. That don't make any sense. But I got the last laugh pretty much.
No, I mean, again, like I love it, dude. Like, some people can look at it like you calling you a traitor, but I mean, like if you're gonna do it, be all in. And like I got mad respect for that. And like and like that's like a topic too, like obviously with the Texans, being somewhat of a new franchise, the youngest franchise, and having that gap with the Oilers being gone, a lot of transplants in Houston from all over the world. And whether we'll allow people back on the bandwagon, so to speak. Like I know a lot of Cowboys fans aren't really they're from Houston. Like my take is like the more the merrier. So I know some people are against that, but like, like, and I get it too. Like winning cures all. And like, I really think this fan base will take off with winning, man. I mean, I'm sure like you mentioned too, it kind of helped with your decision. I know the Texans weren't probably world beaters at the time, but the Browns weren't great. So I'm sure that was a big factor. But Texans on 3 podcast, shout out those guys. They said, "What up, Stressans?" They asked Figgy, "Do you still do music?" I was going to ask you that as well. So I guess a little bit knew about that, but just a little bit more on the rapping background. And then if you still do it, just kind of elaborate on that if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I was rapping when I was in Cleveland. I was working with a producer there, local producer, and I was kind of making a little noise in the city. And this was around 2014, 2015. So I had a lot of stuff going. Actually, before that, my first show I used to record in my house. So right now I pretty much built a studio in my house. I could record in here if I wanted to. But the first show I ever did and the first artist I ever opened up for was a young and up and coming Machine Gun Kelly. So
Wow.
it was in a small bar, and we kind of grew up around the same area. Actually, I gotta tell you this story.
Let's hear it.
It's a crazy story. So this is during the MySpace days, and I want to say this was maybe around 07, 08, somewhere around there. Might have been a little earlier than that. And around that time, a lot of people I was trying to come up with a name for myself. And a lot of people would use like a famous drug dealer name, like a Frank Lucas or Pablo Escobar, stuff like that.
Larry Hoover.
Yeah, yeah. So there, it was a bunch of people making their MySpace like that. So I'm like, you know what? Let me, I started doing a little research, Googling, and I found out about this guy named Machine Gun Kelly, who was a guy back in the 1940s or maybe later than that, who used to rob banks with machine guns. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna make that my name. That's my name. My name is Machine Gun Kelly. And so I was going around as Machine Gun Kelly, and I ran across somebody's profile, MySpace profile as Machine Gun Kelly. I'm like, who is this white boy with my name? So
What?
I'm looking at his page. I'm like, man, and he rap too. So I was so pissed off. I was like ready to find him. I didn't know who he was at the time. And he was from Cleveland. So I'm like, oh no, this brother got my name. And eventually I thought about it. I'm like, man, the real Machine Gun Kelly is white. So it don't make no damn sense for me to go around as this white gangster guy. So I just kind of moved on. And then I ended up coming up with the name Jose Figueroa. I just kind of made it up, and that's where Figgy kind of came from. So to kind of fast forward to the producer I was working with, they started calling me Figueroa. I kind of dropped the Jose, and they started calling me Figueroa, and then they would call me Fig for short. And then eventually somebody started calling me Figgy, which I hated, by the way. I did not like that name because it was a little too close to Fergie. So they started calling me Figgy even more, to the point I couldn't even get away from it. So that's how I ended up coming up with Figgy. And then once I moved to Houston and started working with Fred Davis, who used to be on In the Loop at the time, he would call me Figgy Fig. He would say Figgy Fig on the 1s, 2s, and 3s. So that's how I ended up getting Figgy Fig. Fred Davis came up with Figgy Fig.
That's insane. So for anyone following him, from Machine Gun Kelly, MGK, to Jose, you said
Jose Figueroa, yeah,
to Figgy, to that's crazy, dude. It's like 10
yeah,
nicknames just compounded into one. But that's awesome. I mean, I love nicknames, man. Like they're just random, and then it's just kind of funny. Like you get called by this name for a while, and you look up and you're like, wait, how did this happen? But you just
yeah,
become so used to it. But so
yeah.
did you actually rap with Machine Gun Kelly, you said, or that was just like a weird coincidence?
No, it was a weird coincidence. I did meet him a couple times. He heard some of the songs I was making at the time. He liked it, but I never got a chance to rap with. I actually could have, but some of the timing wasn't right. Where I first of all, I would have made sure that I rap with him if I knew he was gonna blow up like this.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
it was in this is late 2000s. So everybody during that time was rapping. You ain't know who was gonna make it big like that.
Man, that's insane. Like what a coincidence that, he had the same name on MySpace and was from the same town and a rapper. Did you have a chance to tell him that at all?
No, I never got a chance to tell him that. I was
We
going
got to get this story out to him. That's crazy, dude.
Yeah. Like it was so funny because I was so pissed off. Like, man, he took my name. I swore up and down he took my name, man. He probably didn't. He probably never seen me before or seen my MySpace before. So it was just
No, we need to go after him and get some money, bro.
I know.
I mean, he kind of owes you, because if you would have stuck with it, who knows, that could have you could have forced him to change his name, and then all of a sudden, he doesn't become who he is.
Yeah. I will say it fit better on him.
Yeah, for sure.
He looked more like a MGK than I do.
For sure. That's wild, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Texans on 3 who asked, that's Frank Nitti. I don't know if you know those guys, but he's a producer. And he actually he produced Nitti, remind me in the comments, there's a really famous song like back when he was like a teenager. And so you got to link up with him if you still do music. Those guys are awesome, but Frank's my guy.
Okay,
Shout
yeah.
out some other guys in the chat: Forever Royal, BG, Brandon. We got all the usual suspects: Houston Texan sports fan, Texan tangents. But
Yeah.
yeah, man,
I
it's
do. I haven't recorded anything in a long time. I always talk about like, man, once I get my studio set up, I'm gonna record some stuff, just kind of mess around. But I haven't done it yet. It's been a minute, but I might do something just to kind of throw it out there. But I think my rapper days is over, man.
yeah. I'm sure it's like one of those things too. Like once you like get so far removed from it, like it feels foreign to you to an extent. But
Yeah.
maybe like, have you ever thought about like making like a Texan song?
Yeah, I thought about it. A couple people told me about it, but it's so tough making like a team song, man, because there's so much turnover from the team, and it's hard to even name drop players, man, because I think about some of the guys that did a Texas song last year, and most of these guys are not on the team anymore, man. Like I feel bad for people who name drop Stephon Diggs. And he only played a couple games, man. So that part right there is tough. But I did do a parody song when I first got here. When I first started producing, I did a parody song about Brock Osweiler, and that's when he first got traded. He ended up getting traded to the Browns, ironically.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so I made a funny parody song about that. And I think it first played on In the Loop with Cody played. Shout out to Cody Stoops. He ended up playing it. And I think people was expecting it to not be just kind of funny and goofy. But once I got into the verse, they were like, man, he's actually rapping on here. Like, this is really good. And the PD at the time, Ryan McCredden, was like, that's the best parody song I ever heard in my life.
That's awesome.
I'm like, what? I just kind of threw that together, man. I wrote it in like 5 or 10 minutes. I was just kind of messing around on there, but he said it was the best parody song he ever heard.
Well, we need some more, man. Damn.
Yeah.
And is it like on YouTube right now? I want to check it out.
I think it is. You could probably search it on there. I'll send you the link. I'll probably tweet the link out too.
Or if you want to, I could pull it up right now. We could check
Really?
it out.
Let me see.
If you want to, I mean.
Yeah, I think it is on here. I actually think I got.
I mean, we don't have to if you don't want to. I'm just thinking we could mix it up. Just
Yeah, I think
sometimes
I posted the actual video from In the Loop when they played it, their reaction to it. So I think
that's awesome
on here. Yeah.
Yeah, and Brock Osweiler, man. So I went to the Denver game in Denver when we had Brock, and I will never forget. Like, I was one of the fans, like drinking the Kool-Aid, like thought he was the man, like like he's gonna lead us to the Super Bowl because he played those 2-3 games and he balled out, and like we thought he was the truth of the super small sample size. But we found out pretty quick, like 5, 6, 7 games in, like, all right, this guy is not it. But the Denver fans were just like, y'all guys are idiots. Like, y'all paid all that money for him. He sucks. We knew he sucked, which, they may have said that in hindsight, but I'll never forget one of the fans was calling him Broccoli Asswiper, and I just was laughing my ass off, bro. And so every time I hear his name, I think of Broccoli Asswiper.
Yeah. It's funny because when I first got here, this was 2016. So that's when I think that was around the time he got signed. And I just remember people being super excited about him. And I'm like, really? Because I remember the playoff run and them getting to the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl and all that stuff. But I didn't think he was that good to the point it's like we got our franchise quarterback type thing. And it wasn't until I got here and I'm like, oh, like I guess he is the new hot chick right here.
And I think it was like a Sunday night game where he beat Brady or something, and it like just stuck in our, memory of like he's elite. Did you want to play this video or no? We don't, I see you sent it in the chat. We don't have to.
Yeah, I found the video. It's actually the reaction. You will hear the video, but you also see Cody Stoops.
Okay, yeah, shout out Cody.
Yeah, you can play. You can do whatever you want, man. I don't mind.
All right, yeah, I figure we mix it up. Like, normally I'm kind of like somewhat structured, but I feel like this would be like as long as you're cool with it, like we're kind of just hanging out.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see if I can share my screen real quick. We're about to hear Figgy Fig's musical talents right here. Let's see.
Lopez, live from the Men's Club of Houston Sports Desk.
Look how
This
any
is
Cody
Houston's
look, man.
sports leader, Sports Radio 610.
The world premiere of the new
Damn, Cody.
Brock Osweiler song coming your way here in a few moments. We will discuss exactly who deserves the Yeoman's all this for
Trade them. Your price is way too high. We had to trade you. Your price is way too high. We had to trade you. Bye bye. Trade them. Trade them. Trade them. Trade them.
Okay.
Trade them. Trade them. Trade them. Trade them. Your numbers way too low. We had to trade you. Your numbers way too low. We had to trade you. Sorry, Brock, but you got to go. Get your stuff, get up out the door. You was cool when you started though. Now you gotta go. Vamonos, stats falling like dominoes. Passes wasn't even kinda close. Couldn't run, you was kinda slow. Rob Houston for a lot of dough. Tall guy with a big fail. Sean Bradley of the NFL.
Damn.
Too easy, wasn't hard to tell when you threw a fumble, man. What the hell? Got traded to the Cleveland Browns. They don't even want you around. Homeboy, yeah, you a clown. Got shipped out of H-Town. H-Town.
Damn, Figgy. We need more of this, bro.
Thing that you're taught in the National Football League as a quarterback is, don't make a bad play worse. And I made a bad play worse.
You can see in this background, you can see Landry Locker back here.
That's Landry.
Yeah.
Trade them. Trade them. Trade them.
Dude, that's a banger.
Your price is way too high. We had to trade you.
Man, that's awesome, bro. You need to start doing more of that, man. I mean, like with Houston sports, I can only imagine you got like endless content of like stuff like that. But you even put in like a sample of his press conferences. That gave me PTSD, bro. His press conferences were the worst, dude. Between him and Bill O'Brien, dude.
Oh man, it was bad, man. It was real bad. It was some rough times, man.
Like every interview is like, we got to learn how to get in and out of the huddle and operate. It's like he was just saying the same stuff. I'm like, bro, it's week 8. Like, what are we doing? Man, that was awesome. The people in the chat liked it. So, so Frank Nitty with Texans on 3, he says, I was with the 5th Ward Juveniles with Rap-A-Lot Records. Now I produce for all the movers and shakers in Houston and Saucewalka, Killa Callion, and others. So,
Okay.
Yeah, if you got that itch, you need to link up with Frank and just let me know. I can connect y'all. I'm sure y'all probably follow each other.
Man. Yeah, man. If send me something, man. Let me mess around with it. Like I said, I got a home studio in here, man.
And I was telling Frank, like, he needs to get all those Houston artists. He needs to get another Texans track out there. I think that would be dope. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned too, there's a lot of turnover, but I feel like now we got a couple, young core pieces that can kind of can hang on to. But
yeah, at least you got a quarterback, man. You can talk about the quarterback. If anything fails, talk about CJ Stroud and Will Anderson.
Yeah, facts. And so, we haven't even talked football really. Like I do enjoy just getting to know each other, stuff like that. So is there anything else like personally you want to kind of touch on before we kind of dive into football and Houston sports? Like, is there anything I missed?
I don't think so, man. I think, like I said, I was into music. I was into rap music and all that stuff, and somehow ended up on the sports side doing radio. Never would have guessed it, man. And yeah, I think it was a blessing, man. I think this is where God really wanted me to be, because I tried so hard to try to work at Radio 1, try to work for the hip hop stations. And it just wasn't working out, man. God led me to CBS Radio. And then next thing you know it, I'm trying to get some experience. And the only experience I could get is working at a sport for the sports station. And that worked out so well where, I was likable. I was a fast learner. And I tell people all the time I got stuck here because I can't go anywhere else because, right here I'm rolling. but I think this is where I'm supposed to be, man. And it's really a blessing because I would have never thought I would be here. A guy that didn't graduate high school. I was a knucklehead out in these streets and all that stuff, and just found something I can do that's fun, man.
Man, that's like an inspiring story. I mean, like the graduation thing to me, like in my eyes, like I think, college, high school, like, I think a lot of degrees are overrated anyways. I mean,
Yeah.
but like that's crazy though. Like, and I've kind of like felt the same way too. Like, I just with what I'm doing with this here, like I've always been, born and raised Houston sports fan, always been in the shadows, like on a personal Twitter, and made like this one to kind of just fire off takes, and it's just naturally gone to this point. And kind of like you had mentioned earlier, like you basically made it sound like you could never envision yourself like being on air and being a personality, even though you were a rapper, but like a sports take guy. Like I, never thought that I would be on a camera doing live streams. But to your point though, like everything happens for a reason and it's a blessing. And like, and I've said it a lot on here, like the thing that I've enjoyed the most about doing this is, interacting with the community. Like I talk to who knows how many people a day, and like I enjoy all the convos, whether we're agreeing or disagreeing or whatever it is. And then getting to meet people such as yourself, like in the local media, like to me is dope, man. So like I love your perspective on that.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Like I say, it's so cool because like now I feel like they're trying to push me to talk more. And at one point, producers didn't really talk that much. So now they got, somebody like me talking a lot and just being the third mic pretty much. And you really don't get that as a producer. And the same thing with my guy Tyler, who do the
T-Mill.
show. Yeah, T-Mill. Shout out to T-Mill.
He's supposed to come on too. We kind of been like me and you. We've been back and forth, so he'll be on the show soon. Shout out T-Mill.
Okay, yeah. Like somebody like Tyler, I'm so proud of him too, man, because he's pretty much the third mic, and he take control of the show at times. He take the wheel, and you really don't get producers like that. And so, salute to my job for making me do that type of stuff. I think it was like a couple weeks before we officially hired Reggie, who's hosting In the Loop.
Shout out Reggie, friend of the show.
Yeah.
Reggie's cool, man. He's dope.
Yeah, he's so cool, man. Such a good dude. But 2 weeks before he officially hopped on In the Loop, I had to host with Lopez for 2 weeks. Like just me being in the other chair for 2 weeks. I'm like, I don't know if I could do this. Like people don't realize being a host like that is so tough, man, because it's just sitting there for 4 hours. You got to come up with different ways to talk about stuff. And you doing it Monday through Friday too, man. You doing it Monday through Friday. You on the clock. It's certain stuff you can't say. You got to keep it clean. You got to be quick. And it's just like it's kind of like a ping pong match. Like you got to go back and forth. You got to go back. If he say something, then I got to respond to that, and then he gonna respond to that. It's just so much, man. So I'm like, I don't see myself ever being a full-time host like that. But yeah, man, it's so cool that I got a chance to do that too, man. Because like I said earlier, I never would have thought I would be doing something like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think like part of it too is like you mentioned, like, you're getting asked to speak more. Like I think it works because it's like you're another opinion or another personality. I see you're froze there. I'm not sure if you're still there. Can you hear me, Figgy? It looks like he's froze. So I'll kind of, like he just said, is back and forth. Okay, Figgy, you're moving a little bit. I don't know if you're still froze. Whenever you can hear me, just start talking. But yeah, like he was saying, man, like if you're like a radio guy, you got to be able to kind of think on your toes is what I believe it is. So you said I froze.
Yeah.
Okay, I saw that you froze. Maybe it's me. I mean,
okay, it could have been me too.
Hey, but who knows? I just kept talking to kind of fill the dead air. But I was saying, it's cool that you kind of like got to talk more and were asked to talk more. And I think like part of what that is like, and I enjoy it too. Like I mentioned, I listen to all y'all, on 610. It's just like that's like my dial is stuck on there. But I think it's good like have a variety of personalities, people with like different opinions, backgrounds, etc. So like it's a good mix. And then I was on ESPN 97.5 with Jeremy Bonham and Joel Blank with the Killer Bees.
Man, that's my guy.
Yeah, Jeremy's cool, and so is Joel. And I did a weekly segment with them last fall, BLESSAN or STRESSAN. It was basically just Texan stuff. But so I learned a little bit about that too. Like like you mentioned, nervous, and then like your point though about kind of like you have to be quick on your feet, like think on your toes, and you know, and a lot of people too, like, and I guess I've learned like overall with sports media, whether it's writing, covering the team, radio, like things or thoughts that I had prior, like critiquing in my head, you know, you guys, now I've gained a much greater appreciation. Like you saying, like, it's a long shift. Like it may not sound like much for someone to talk for 3 or 4 hours every day. But to your point, like, you know, I used to be one of those guys that get in the car and turn it on and want to hear what I want to hear right now. It's like, well, bro, they probably just talked about it. And I'm sure you also get that. People are like, what are y'all talking about? Like, of course, throughout the day, just like we're talking now, random combos happen. You could be talking about random stuff. So I've learned to kind of like realize, like, all right, dude, like they're there for 4 hours. Like, just because you're in the car for 5 minutes doesn't mean you're going to hear exactly the topic you want. So,
and I think we're in a place where, you know, if it's something you don't want to hear at the moment, it's cool to just turn away. It's cool to, if we talking about some rocket stuff and you're not really interested in the rocket stuff, it's cool to be like, you know what, I'll come back a little later after they finish. We don't want you to, but it's cool to do that. But it's tough because I feel like we're in a place where people get stuff on demand all the time. So, for instance, even like podcasts, I know you do a podcast, you doing content and stuff like that. When they come to you, they know what they're getting. You probably talking Texans stuff. So, but with radio, we're Houston sports leaders, so we trying to bounce all over the place. And it might be that one time, because I forgot who it was. Somebody might have hit me up and said, damn, y'all always talking about the Astros. It's football. And it's around this one little time, he probably in the car going to lunch. And it's our segment where we talk about what's popping. And we just brought up the Astros because they played. And it's like, man, that's that one little pocket. But the rest of the show, we was heavy Texans.
Yeah, so I used to be that guy, but I learned, like, all right, bro, like, you're being dumb. And you just laid it out right. Like, it's, you know, like you're the Houston sports leader. You got 3 major sports. Like right now you got KD, you got the Astros sweeping the Dodgers. You got, you know, obviously Texans still, you know, coming up. So, I mean, and then you got your segments for every show. It's like, all right, like we got our weekly or daily segments. So, I mean, I definitely get it. And then, you know, if someone does change the dial, y'all have it on podcast too. You can always go back and listen. So, but yeah, I think we can kind of get into ball now. It's been like about a half hour just talking, getting to know you. Are you still good on time right now?
Yeah. No, I'm good, man.
Okay. Well, but yeah, I'll just ask you, you know, from your observation, how do you feel about the offseason, the moves that were made?
I think they had a pretty good offseason. I feel like it was kind of a maybe I would call it a wake up moment, because you got rid of one of your best offensive linemen. I don't care what nobody say. He was a good offensive lineman. I know we kind of, you know, get irritated by the guy, but Laramie Tunsil was a good offensive lineman, and you got rid of him. And I think it's tough too, because you see a lot of lists pretty much ranking the Texans offense kind of in the middle of the pack, and you got people ranking the offensive line dead last. And so that kind of hurt, but I think they really got to show it on the field, man. I can't even argue with that type of stuff that, they shouldn't be 32nd. It's tough to do that when you look at how bad the offensive line played last year, and you get rid of your best offensive lineman. So I think it's gonna be really interesting to see how they do it, because either they might be up to something where all of these people they got, all these players they got, they might be the real deal, where you be like, oh, okay, Nick was cooking, you know, maybe we was overreacting. Or it could go the opposite way, where it's like, man, they need somebody, they need a left tackle now. So it's really hard to tell, but it seemed like they know what they doing a little bit, man. I would say I was a little underwhelmed with the way they addressed the offensive line. I thought they was going to get for sure. I know they got Cam Robinson, but I thought they was going to get somebody else, especially with the stuff they traded for Laramie Tunsil. I thought they was going to try to get somebody else where he going to be there for a little bit. But It is what it is, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, I thought that too, and I kind of quickly like, try to like look at it through their perspective. Like I've learned like, as like as intensive a fan as I am, and we all are, we all like have like our ideas of how we would do it, and then when it doesn't go our way, like we get upset, and like I've learned to like rather than like critique it, like try to see why they did it, and then like I've been able to be like, okay, like I at least see what they did. I mean, anyone would have thought they would have got like I thought for sure, like deductive reasoning, O line was bad, interior was the worst. Okay, we need a good interior guy. And so you go look at the free agents, and then we didn't get any of the top interior guys. So, but you could say like, hey, maybe they're doing the same approach with the defensive line where on the interior where they didn't go get a big name nose tackle. They kind of just got guys that we thought were bad. And then it turned out that they thrived in that system. So in my opinion, and I'm sure you agree, I guess it's like not really news, but like basically what they're telling us is they're betting on that the problems last year was not personnel, but largely coaching and scheme. So
Yeah.
I'm trusting that. And, I, from the research and just, learning about Nick Caley and watching him, observing him, I have faith in him. And then hearing about Cole Popovich, that makes me a little more excited too. And I'm glad you brought up like the rankings. So like I'm one of those guys that gets upset when they rank the O-line at 32nd. And, like I get like, from last year, but like, I guess like I would like to talk to people like making the rankings. Like what is like the way you're doing it? Like for me, if it's a projection, like you should be trying to look at like things going forward. Like last year should be last year, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And like I get like the prove it thing. Like I still think they need to prove it, but I still don't think they're the 32nd ranked O-line, which, we're in the middle of July, early July. We just got to have something to talk about. But,
Yeah.
someone said in the chat, I think the Nosh says that he says they'll be top 15, book it. I think they can be. But like, and when I bring up the arguments about coaching and scheme, and I really think that it was an indictment on Bobby Slowick and Chris Strouser. Some people like will counter like, oh, that's just hope and fairy dust, but like I really think it was that bad. So do you think fixing those two things can shore up the O line, and with that, could you see a world where the O line could be middle of the pack?
Yeah, 100%, man, 100%. And I think they're gonna be pretty good too. It's just hard trying to explain that to somebody that's not in the mix. Like me and you could talk about this and say, oh, I wouldn't say that the room was toxic or anything like that, but I could say, oh, now they got these certain type of players. Now they got this offensive coordinator. Now they got this offensive line coach. So it's going to be better than it was last year, even without Laramie Tunsil. And I know Shaq Mason was, it was kind of over with for him, but it's hard to explain that to like a Mike Florio or somebody that's putting out all of these lists. They just looking at the Houston Texans last season, and they got rid of Laramie Tunsil and didn't really replace Laramie Tunsil with somebody better than him. So that's how they kind of looking at it. And it's hard to have that conversation. I feel like that's kind of like, you having issues with somebody in your house. Mm-hmm. And only y'all can have a conversation. Other people outside of the house won't get it. So
it's a great analogy.
Yeah. So like I said, I disagree. I don't think they should be 32nd on these lists, but it's hard to kind of try to argue it.
But you still get it too. But like, I guess like for me, like it got me thinking too, just like these lists and projections in general, like to me, they're not projections. Like everyone's too scared to make a bold projection because nothing ever stays the same. Like people go from like worst to first and first to worst. Like things shuffle in all these leagues every year. But it feels like everyone's like too scared to make any kind of bold prediction. Like if someone were to say the Texans O-line was like going to be 20th, they would get roasted for it. Oh, they were terrible last year. But like, yeah, but it's different, bro. Like, they like you mentioned, I mean, yeah, we lost LT, but like we also got rid of two of probably the worst linemen in all of football last year in the interior, which interior pressure to me is 1,000 times worse than exterior pressure. We saw it last year, like unabated up the middle, the play is dead. I mean, Shaq Mason and Kenyon Green, boom, like anybody immediately. I don't care what you think of these free agents, they have to be better. That's not to mention, the scheme coupled with it. But yeah, and my big take too is like, yes, LT was a great pass protector, but if you lose X amount percentage at left tackle, but then you gain X amount percentage across the board as a result, it's about the best net 5, which is kind of what they've been saying. So like I
Yeah.
will take, and some people have arguments like, well, like, ranking going into the season, you don't have any Pro Bowlers or whatever, but like, would you rather have one all-star guy and, 4 bad, or like 5 average guys as a unit? And I guess I'll get your thoughts on this. It's supposed to be a conversation. I'm kind of hogging the mic, but I have this thought too. Like, out of all the position groups on a football team, I feel like O-line may be one of the one that you can get away with less talent on, in my opinion. And it can be one that you can overcome that the most with coaching and scheme, in my opinion. And as we saw last year, it's about being cohesive in a unit and together. Like last year, it constantly looked like 5 individuals. Like all the stuff we saw about, like, a guy would get beat and he would just look around. It just screamed like everyone didn't care about the quarterback getting hit, or if, as long as they did their job, they were fine. So would you kind of agree with that sentiment? Like, if you had to pick one of the position groups to lack in talent-wise, O-line, and I know it's tough because you want to protect your franchise quarterback, but am I crazy for thinking along those lines? Or?
No, I think that's a fair point. And plus, we kind of seen it. I can't remember if it was last season or 2 seasons ago when I think I forgot, they trotted out a bad offensive line to the point we were thinking CJ was gonna get crushed that game. And I don't even think he got sacked. Remember, I think it was a couple weeks where he didn't get sacked. And you had people like Michael Dieter out there. You had all type of random names, and they were just fine, man. And now we wouldn't roll out that offensive line for the rest of the season. But to me, that kind of shows you that, I guess certain type of scheme and players, you necessarily don't need a Laramie Tunsil. I mean, it's good to have a Laramie Tunsil, but you might not necessarily need all of these Pro Bowlers on the team, man. So I think that's one of the things that kind of give me hope about this offensive line this year. Maybe they might be average or above average.
That's all we need, bro.
Yeah. But as long as CJ know what to do, give him a little time to make some plays, then you don't need a Laramie Tunsil. And that sounds crazy to say, but
I agree.
You don't need a Laramie Tunsil if you got some guys doing their jobs.
Well, I think like the reason, like you said, like that was like even like the first year under Stroud, like, everyone got hurt and the O-line was like a makeshift O-line and they were pretty good. And so then we're all going into the next year, we're getting all of our starters back, and they're going to be way better, and they were way worse. But it turns out, like we watched last year, like all the times they got beat was all mental, bro. Like it's just guys just going unblocked. It's like, okay, well, like I don't care how damn good you are if you're not even getting in the right position, and like you could have me standing out there and it would be the same result, So if you don't get that down first, then you're screwed. So I mean, I feel like people are like focusing on the physical element of like the guys we sign and how they've been in free agency and lately, as opposed to, okay, what's the mental side going to be like? Are they actually going to be in the right place at the right time, have the right assignment, like just to start off with? And if we had X amount of sacks last year and 80-90% of them were mental, okay, well, like we can cut that number drastically by just getting guys in there who know what the heck they're doing. So again, I could see the other side of saying like, oh, that's kind of being optimistic, but like I'm not saying they're going to be a top 5, top 10 unit. I'm saying like they can be average, and if they are average, that's all we need, in my opinion, to be a legit contender. So would you agree with that sentiment, that like in order for us to be a legit Super Bowl contender, all we need is just an average, like assuming everything else goes the way it is position group wise, all we need is an average to slightly above average offensive line?
Yeah, 100%. Look at the year the Bengals went to the Super Bowl. Their offensive line wasn't good. He was getting crushed, but they made it well enough to get them to the Super Bowl. Same thing with the Chiefs. I don't think the Chiefs I don't think they had a top 5 O-line.
They did at points, but then they fell off hard.
Yeah. I think they had to start paying people and all that stuff, so they had to make some moves. And I think that's why Nick Caserio, I think that's why he made the decision to kind of move on from Laramie Tunsil, because if the offensive line was good with paying you all of this money, I think it's a smarter decision to kind of move on and get some people in there that's not making this much money and maybe get a better result. I don't know.
or move that money elsewhere. You know, I mean, like if the O line is going to be like this low anyways, you might as well allocate the funds somewhere else and try to overcome that deficiency. You know?
Yeah, that's exactly what I think he was doing, man. Because,
Yeah.
like I said, Laramie Tunsil, he outside of the false starts and all that stuff, the penalties, he had a good year.
Yep.
But you know, he is not the offensive line, man. Offensive line is 5 people, so yeah, they had to get that done, man.
No, I agree. And then I guess like another, point on the offensive line too is like I get to like, obviously we go off what we see, like PFF grades. Like I think they're good, but like obviously you kind of use them in the right context. But just for example, like Laken Tomlinson, Ed Ingram, Cam Robinson, like these guys we got, like everyone's like just calling them washed and busts and like, oh, they were bad last year. This fan says they were bad, or maybe they watch some film and see. But like I still think that, like we look at our D line, we get these no-name veterans that come in, Mario Edwards Jr., Tim Settle Jr., and on down the line, and they come in and like have career years. So like, obviously that's like a lot of hope and trust in the system and coaching, but you can't just look at some of this stuff and assume this guy is going to be terrible in our system, our scheme. It's a whole new environment. And then you couple that with the fact that we said O-line, you don't have to be a world beater. And then another point that I like to make too is like, now all of a sudden we all know who these guys are, but like before, no one knew who these guys are. Like the average fan can't name 20 O linemen outside of the Texans, that have played or had played for the Texans. Like maybe name like the top 5 or 10, but like we don't know. It's not like receivers and corners where we're like you know them because of fantasy football. Like we're acting like we know these guys for sure are good and for sure aren't bad. So that's kind of like my argument too, is like we're just assuming these guys we got because we didn't get the big names we wanted that they suck. Like, okay, maybe so, but like, just like they have to prove it, like, we'll let them have a chance to do so. And then my last little part of my soliloquy on the offensive line would be just like, I mean, you look at like teams like the Patriots in the years past. I know they have like Slater and big name guys at tackle, but to me, that's kind of hindsight. Like they never were big O-line guys. Like how many offensive linemen can you name from the Patriots? Like they were a team or a unit, which is where Popovich was from, who got tutored by Dante Scarnecchia, who's like the best O-line coach in the history of the NFL. So that's like another point I kind of bring up too. But I don't know if you want to reply to any of that, but I just have a lot of thoughts on the O-line.
Yeah, and even kind of like how the Patriots used to roll whenever one of them offensive linemen are looking to get paid, they say peace. And, you get somebody like Trent Brown going to the Raiders and it don't work out right. It seems like they know when to let them go, man. They're not paying a boatload of money to a tackle like that, or they know what to do. They know how to get some of these players from these smaller schools, and a player you probably never even heard of, and he just go in and do his job. So I think with Nick Caserio being from New England as well, I think that's probably the mindset at this point. I think he's probably like, you know what, let's go this way. Let's try this way, man, and just get some really good play, or I don't even know if they're really good, but just get some solid players that can work in this system and do the job.
Yeah, and so like I know obviously with Nick Caley being, from the Rams and also the Patriots, and I know people kind of cringe when they hear the Patriot way with Bill O'Brien and all that stuff, but to your point, like if that's like the model we're going to do, like this will be the first time with this current iteration of the Texans that will deploy that strategy. And then kind of to your point about the Patriots, the players letting them go, like, maybe when they let them go is maybe the system made them better than what they were. It's almost like the Astros, like a lot of these guys leave and play and maybe aren't as good, but like maybe it's because you played around guys on your team that were good, or you were in a good environment for you to do so. So, I mean, I think there's a lot to unpack there, but I guess we'll do a couple more questions and we'll call it here. It's already about 50 minutes, but so what are your thoughts for CJ Stroud going into his 3rd year? A lot of players, they talk like from year 1 to year 2, it's like the jump. And then from year 2 to year 3 is like the leap. Obviously, he had the sophomore slump, which, whatever. Do you think he will have a rebound this year? And what do you expect out of him?
Yeah, I think he'll have a rebound this year. To me, I felt like he'd been super focused this offseason. So I think he probably heard and seen some of the criticism. Probably felt like he didn't play the best. even though I thought he was okay. But it's a team thing. So with him being the quarterback, he probably gonna get most of the blame. But I think he's gonna have a really good year, man. I think he's gonna be focused. I think this offense will probably suit him a little more. I think he'll have a little freedom to kind of do what he wants. And I don't think we realized how much Bobby Slowick was an issue, because it seemed like it was kind of do it this way, put this square peg into a round hole type of guy. I didn't realize that. And so I don't think Nick Caley will be that way. And I think he's gonna have a really good year this year, man. I feel it in my bones. I think he gonna have something to prove. And the disrespect is kind of crazy, man. They just making it seem like everybody's making it seem like, oh, that was a one-hit wonder. And what's funny is it seemed like Jaden Daniels is getting all of this love now.
He's about to come down. We know how this stuff goes.
He got a high bar to reach, man. He went to the NFC Championship game, so he gonna have a lot to prove. But as far as CJ, man, I think he gonna have a really good year this year.
I'm happy to hear that, and I agree. And like, it kind of goes back to your point too, like, like the national media, outsider, other fans, like, they are over criticizing because they don't know the environment, that just like the O-line, like we're thinking we better, like CJ would be better because we saw why he was bad. And if you break it down, it really, to me, was like actually an impressive year. Like the environment he was in, play calling, always in 3rd and longs, always under pressure. We saw how Mahomes in the Super Bowl had one of the worst games ever with, a rate that was below the season average for Stroud. So like, if you kind of like put things into perspective like that, it changes it. Yeah, I'm super optimistic. Like you mentioned, the command of the offense with Caley. I think he's like the real deal. And then, and then the offseason too, like you mentioned, I thought like, I enjoyed being a guy that's always clipping stuff content wise. I enjoyed like his media tour, and I didn't think it affected him, but I think he realized he has good self-awareness that he had to tone it down. But yeah, people like, I've been saying this, like they're just, last year we were overhyped, and then now this year we are underhyped. It was like, people were putting too much weight into us, and now it's like this, it's like people like feel burned emotionally. So they're like overcorrecting, and now we're under the radar, which to me is a better position. And like, my opinion is,
I agree.
What we thought this team would be last year is actually this year. And so that'll be my last question. Do you kind of feel the same, like not to get us back up hype too much, but do you kind of feel that way a little bit? Or
yeah, I think to me, I agree with you, man. I'm not to me, I like to stay low and build. So when I think it was last season when they had all of those national games, I was just like, no, like give us a couple games and that's it. Like we don't need 5 games and put all this pressure on, the team and all that stuff. But yeah, I think right now, I think a lot of stuff has changed now. I think CJ Stroud, I agree with you. I don't think the media rounds affected anything on the field, but I think CJ is locked in this year. I think he like even some of the events he went to and I was around, he was just like wasn't in the mood to talk to the media about football. He was just, you could tell he was just kind of locked in and all that stuff. So yeah, I think we're gonna see a good CJ this year, man. He a competitor.
That's awesome to hear. I mean, yeah, and so like obviously you're around him, but I feel like I got a pretty good grasp for his personality watching all these clips over the years. But to me, like, if you just listen to him talk, like I just know he's the truth. Like the way he talks, he's football smart. I mean, yeah, he's got me hype, and that's why I'm so high on the Texans now and going forward. So but yeah, that's all I got, man. I mean, it's been great talking to you. Obviously, you are the producer on In the Loop on Sports Radio 610, which is, I believe, is 10 to 2.
Yep, 10 to 2.
10 to 2 with John
segment,
Lopez.
Yep, with John Lopez and Reggie Adatula.
Okay, and what was your segment you said? I'm sorry.
I got a segment called Figgy's Mixtape. It's every day at 1:20. So I talk about random stuff all the time during
Love it. And what about, you want to shout out your YouTube channel? And obviously on the bottom, I believe it's at the Figgy Fig on X and Instagram. Is that correct?
Yep, that's right. Yep. And also, I do a hip hop podcast called the Gems and Juice Podcast with my boy Ryan Rocket. Yeah, give us a subscribe on YouTube, man. Check us out. Saturday we gonna be we usually go live every Friday evening around 6. But this week we gonna go live on, I want to say Saturday, to talk about an album that's coming out, this new Clips album. So
Okay.
yeah. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, I would love to hear that. I'll have to connect with you to get the info. My dog right now, I got a 100-pound Rhodesian Ridgeback, and he is the biggest baby. Anytime like my wife like wraps a present or like blows a balloon, he gets terrified. So it's my daughter's birthday tomorrow. I'm pretty sure she's wrapping a present. He's like trying to crawl into my lap right now. But no, Figgy, this has been fun, man. Thank y'all for tuning in. We're gonna go ahead and sign off, and until next time, be blessing.